As the last rays of the distant suns faded, casting an ethereal glow over the glimmering sands of Nebulae, Orion found himself in the dimly lit cockpit of the celestial nomad. The ship, having undergone a traumatic entry into the planet's atmosphere and a heart-stopping crash, now hummed with a subdued energy, echoing its pilot's own bruised but not broken spirit. Gazing over the control panels, Orion noted the blinking lights transitioning from frantic reds to calming yellows. The ship's AI, while not entirely functional, had managed to autonomously reroute power to critical systems, bringing them back from the brink of total shutdown. The ship's life support hummed quietly in the background, air scrubbers efficiently purifying the recycled air, ensuring a breathable atmosphere. Satisfied with the ship's stabilization for the night, Orion moved to a small alcove, which housed a compact medical bay. The unit hummed to life as he approached, sensors scanning his body for injuries. A soft blue light enveloped him, soothing the aches in his muscles and joints. A rejuvenating serum was administered, addressing internal bruises and minor lacerations, easing the pain he'd been suppressing. Refreshed and somewhat healed, Orion made his way to the sleeping quarters. The bed, molded to fit the contours of his body, beckoned him. He sank into it, allowing the comfort of its embrace to envelop him. Above him, a ceiling screen projected a live feed of the shimmering desert outside, reflecting the perpetual moonlight of Nebulae. As Orion closed his eyes, memories of the day's events played in his mind. The abrupt alarm of the ship, the frantic moments leading to the crash, and the striking beauty of the desert planet. Though he felt a tinge of melancholy for the position he found himself in, there was also an undeniable thrill, an adventurer's spirit that saw not a dire situation, but a challenge to be overcome. Determined thoughts about the days to come filled his mind as he drifted into a restful sleep, his body and spirit slowly rejuvenating, preparing him for the exploration and challenges that lay ahead. Dawn in Nebulae was unlike any Orion had witnessed before. Even in his vast galactic travels, there was something uniquely ethereal about the way light touched this planet's surface. As he stepped out of the ship's wreckage, his boots imprinted on the smooth, almost liquid-like sands below. They glowed gently in response to his touch, a soft luminescence that faded as quickly as it appeared. Orion bent down, letting the silvery granules slip through his fingers. The Stardust sand felt cool and almost weightless, a stark contrast to the rough and coarse terrains he had encountered on other planets. Each grain seemed to possess its own minute gleam, like fragmented mirrors reflecting the moon's light. As he walked, the sea of stardust shifted, creating waves of sparkling light. The landscape was an ever-shifting tapestry of silver and moonlight, undulating with the gentle breezes that passed over. In the distance, large dunes rose, their tops crowned with a brilliance that made them seem like beacons. They shimmered and danced, an optical ballet that was mesmerizing. Orion's heart swelled with a mixture of awe and reverence. The world felt alive, not in the way of animals or plants, but with a pure, radiant energy. The very ground seemed to hum and sing with the histories of stars and galaxies unknown. It was as if the cosmic stories of the universe were imprinted in the very sand he stood upon. "This," he whispered to himself, "is the beauty of the uncharted, the song of the cosmos, the artistry of the universe made manifest." Each step he took was in rhythm with the heartbeat of Nebulae, a dance of man and nature intertwined in a timeless waltz. Taking a deep breath, Orion felt a sense of peace he hadn't known he was seeking. The isolation and despair that had gripped him were momentarily forgotten, replaced by an overwhelming sense of connection to the universe around him. He realized that in this vastness, he was not alone. The planet, with its glowing sands, was speaking to him, whispering tales of stars, moons, and galaxies beyond comprehension. And in that quiet, luminescent morning, Dr. Orion Hayes, the interstellar explorer, felt humbled and awestruck, a child of the cosmos standing on the shores of infinity. Under the radiant light of Nebulae's sun, Dr. Orion Hayes had immersed himself in exploration. The untouched terrain beckoned him, and like a true wanderer of the cosmos, he had heeded its call. Through winding valleys of silver, over luminous dunes, and beside crystal-clear pools reflecting the brilliance of the sky, Orion ventured with the thirst of discovery propelling him forward. Orion's feet carried him along trails that wound into small canyons of sparkling minerals. He collected samples, his fingers touching fragments of alien rock that no human hand had ever touched. Every discovery was meticulously logged in his handheld, its screen dim against the ambient glow of Nebulae's surface. As he walked, his mind teetered between wonder and an ever-present weight of solitude. The vastness of the landscape, its silent beauty, was both a comfort and a reminder of his isolation. A pioneer on uncharted sands, he mused, but alone all the same. At one point, he'd come across a grove of tall, crystalline structures. From afar, they looked like frozen trees, but up close, they resonated with soft harmonics, producing melodies that were both alien and yet familiar, echoing the calls of distant galaxies. The sheer otherworldliness of the sound had made him feel simultaneously rooted in this place and yet untethered from reality. But as Nebulae's day transitioned to night, the world transformed. The gentle luminescence of the Stardust sands intensified, painting everything in a deeper, richer hue of blue and purple. Orion watched in awe as creatures began to emerge. They were ethereal, made of light and shadow, gliding gracefully through the air, their forms adorned with glowing patterns. Some resembled birds, their wings leaving trails of light, while others floated like jellyfish, drifting and dancing to a silent cosmic rhythm. The sands themselves seemed to come alive, with swirls and eddies of light chasing one another, creating patterns that told stories older than time. With every step Orion took, the sands responded, lighting up in a radiant display of affection. Looking up, the sky was a canvas of stars, but not the familiar constellations of Earth. These were new stars, their stories unwritten, waiting for Orion to decipher. He felt a profound connection to the universe, an overwhelming realization that he was part of something infinitely vast and intricate. The weight of his isolation began to lift, replaced with an understanding that in the grand tapestry of existence, every thread, every being, every grain of sand had a place and a purpose. With the shimmering landscape stretching before him and the stars above, Orion knew that this journey, with its trials and tribulations, was a gift. And as he retraced his steps to the celestial nomad, the heart of an explorer beat strongly within him, ever eager for the next chapter of discovery. In the enveloping hush of Nebulae's night, Orion paused to listen. The earlier sounds, the humming of the crystal groves, the soft whispers of the stardust beneath his feet, had receded, giving way to an even deeper, rhythmic pulse. It was as though the very heart of the planet was revealing itself to him. At first, it was faint, just a distant thrumming, like the distant beat of war drums from old Earth stories. But as he stilled himself, its cadence grew clearer, resonating with his very being. The rhythm was slow, deliberate, a deep dun-dun, dun-dun, echoing through the crystalline air. Orion felt drawn towards the source of the sound, his explorer's spirit once again awakened. Following the beat, he ventured further from his ship, deeper into the heart of the glowing desert. The sands around him responded to the rhythm, each grain vibrating, moving, dancing to the tune of the planet's song. As he journeyed, he encountered vast pools of liquid crystal, their surfaces rippling in time with the heartbeat. The reflections they cast were of otherworldly constellations, each star pulsing in harmony with the rhythm. It felt like walking amidst a symphony, where each instrument, each note, was perfectly attuned to the next. Drawing closer to the source, Orion stumbled upon a colossal structure rising from the sands. It looked ancient, its surface etched with the wear of eons. The structure pulsed, and as it did, arcs of luminous energy coursed through it, syncing with the planet's heartbeat. As he approached, the pulses grew stronger, the arcs of light brighter, and he felt a tangible energy in the air. Orion realized he was standing before the heart of Nebulae. The structure, perhaps an ancient relic or monument of a long-gone civilization, served as the conduit, channeling the planet's energy and broadcasting its heartbeat for all to feel. He pressed his hand against its surface, feeling the rhythm coursing through him. There was wisdom here, knowledge, a living history of the planet and its mysteries. and for a moment, amidst the pulsing light and the rhythm of the desert, Orion Hayes felt a profound connection to everything around him. The desert's heartbeat was not just a sound, it was a call, an invitation to understand, to connect, to be a part of something far greater than oneself. In that moment, Dr. Orion Hayes, the lone explorer from a distant star, found solace in the embrace of an ancient planet's song. As dawn painted Nebulae's horizon with pastel hues, Orion set out once more, eager to delve deeper into the mysteries of this alien world. The early hours found the desert deceptively tranquil, with a gentle breeze carrying faint whispers of the night's lullaby. The vibrant stardust shimmered, reflecting the dawn's light in iridescent waves, creating a spectacle of dancing glimmers. However, as the hours ticked on, the breeze gradually intensified. Orion, ever observant, noted a peculiar change in the atmosphere. The ethereal glow of the sands seemed to pulse with greater urgency, and the horizon took on a hazy, silvery sheen. From the distance, there came a low rumble, growing steadily louder. The vast expanse of the desert distorted distances, making it challenging for Orion to gauge the oncoming phenomeno's speed or magnitude. However, his instincts as an explorer, honed through countless missions, told him something significant was approaching. Drawing closer, he realized with a mix of awe and trepidation that he was witnessing a stardust storm, a swirling maelstrom of gleaming particles. This was not the gentle glimmer of the dunes he had grown accustomed to, but a frenzied tempest where each grain of stardust was agitated, propelled by forces beyond his understanding. The storm approached rapidly, its swirling vortexes painting surreal patterns in the sky. Realizing the potential danger, Orion quickened his pace, retracing his steps back towards the safety of the celestial nomad. The wind howled, carrying with it sharp, glittering grains of stardust, which stung his exposed skin and threatened to disorient him. As the storm's ferocity peaked, Orion's vision was engulfed in a luminous haze. His footprints, previously a reliable guide back to the ship, were quickly obscured by the shifting sands. Relying on memory and sheer determination, he persevered, battling the buffeting winds and the disorienting brilliance of the storm. With what felt like mere moments to spare, the familiar outline of the celestial nomad materialized from the luminous chaos. Orion stumbled aboard, sealing the entry just as the storm's full might descended upon his craft. Inside, the ship quaked under the barrage, the external sensors painting a surreal picture of a world ablaze with radiant fury. Orion, catching his breath, watched in a mixture of relief and wonder. He had come face to face with the raw, untamed beauty of Nebulae and lived to tell the tale. The Stardust storm, though harrowing, was a poignant reminder of the unpredictable nature of exploration and the humbling might of the cosmos. The view from the celestial nomad's cockpit was akin to watching a cosmic ballet. Though the storm's ferocity was evident in its howling winds and shifting dunes, there was a gentleness in the way the stardust danced and played with the light. From his vantage point, Orion could see a breathtaking array of colors, shifting and intertwining as the stardust refracted the starlight. Blues melded into purples, which in turn gave way to golds and fiery reds, creating a tapestry of hues that seemed almost otherworldly. Every once in a while, a particularly dense pocket of stardust would catch the light just right, emitting brilliant flares that illuminated the landscape in stark, contrasting shades. The horizon, once a clear demarcation between land and sky, was now a kaleidoscope of shimmering brilliance. It was as if the very fabric of Nebulae was coming alive, expressing itself in bursts of color and light. Within the cockpit, the ambient lighting dimmed automatically, optimizing the viewing experience. Orion found himself transfixed, his previous worries and anxieties momentarily forgotten. The natural phenomena unfolding before him was a stark reminder of the universe's boundless beauty. He thought of the many worlds he'd visited, the countless horizons he'd seen, but none quite matched the ethereal spectacle of Nebulae's stardust storm. There was a rhythm to it, a pulsating beat that seemed to resonate with his own heart. In the vastness of space, amidst the infinite realms of the unknown, beauty is a constant, he murmured to himself. It reminds us of the grandeur of existence, the fragility of our being, and the eternal dance of light and shadow. Lost in his reflections, Orion didn't notice the storm's gradual ebbing. Only when the cacophony outside lessened and the ship's internal systems began to normalize did he snap back to the present. But the memory of that luminous dance, the play of colors and light, remained etched in his mind, a beacon of hope and wonder in an otherwise daunting situation. In the profound stillness that followed the storm, Nebulae seemed to be reborn. The landscape, once an uninterrupted canvas of stardust sand, now bore intricate patterns, like artwork etched by cosmic hands. Dunes, shifted by the tempestuous winds, had reformed into sweeping waves of shimmering silver and gold, while crystallized stardust gleamed like jewels in the aftermath. Orion slowly stepped out of the celestial nomad, his boots imprinting upon the newly formed surface. Every step was a mix of crunch and softness, as if he was walking on a blend of snow and diamond dust. The very air seemed fresher, imbued with an ethereal quality that made each breath feel invigorating. Above him, the stars shone brighter, their light undiminished by the storm, and the glow from the landscape cast an otherworldly illumination, reminiscent of moonlit nights on distant, forgotten planets. His heart was heavy with emotion. The raw beauty of Nebulae had revealed itself, not as a hostile and alien world, but as a place of wonder and enchantment. It was humbling. The desert's transformation served as a poignant reminder of the impermanence of situations, of landscapes, and of life itself. Like the stardust sand that changed form but remained essentially unchanged, challenges and adversities too would pass, reshaping experiences but leaving the core untouched. Orion thought of his crash, his initial fear and despair, and juxtaposed it with his current sense of wonder. Nebulae was teaching him. It was a lesson in resilience, in the transient nature of circumstances, and in the enduring spirit of discovery. He felt a connection, a bond with this land. His earlier desperation to leave was now tempered with a desire to know more, to delve deeper into Nebulae's mysteries. With a newfound determination, Orion looked back at the celestial nomad. The ship, his loyal companion, stood resilient, though scarred. It mirrored his own journey, tattered but unbroken. In the profound silence of the desert, with a universe of stars as his witnesses, Orion made a silent promise. He would repair his ship, he would continue his explorations, but he would forever carry a piece of Nebulae in his heart, cherishing its lessons, its beauty, and its undying spirit of wonder. Orion, invigorated by the wondrous spectacle of Nebulae's transformation, knew it was high time to set his sights on the practical matter of repairing the celestial nomad. After all, wonder was only one side of exploration. Meticulousness and diligence made up the other. As he walked through the ship's corridors, the walls echoed with soft humming and intermittent beeping. It was a symphony of technology, one he had grown attuned to over his years of space exploration. A symphony, however, that now had a discordant note. Orion made his way to the ship's engineering bay, where the heart of the ship, its energy core, resided. A vast chamber of gleaming silver, brimming with circuits, tubes, and a myriad of displays. At its center stood the energy core, usually pulsating with a vibrant blue glow, signaling its health and vitality. But now, it was different. The core's light was dim, flickering erratically, with a reddish hue replacing its signature blue. Orion's heart sank. He'd seen this before on older crafts during his training days, but not on the celestial nomad, not on his ship. It signified one thing. The energy core was damaged, perhaps critically. "By the stars," Orion whispered, his voice edged with a mix of disbelief and worry. He approached the core, his fingers instinctively moving to the control panel adjacent to it. Diagnostic results began to flow on the display, a cascade of data, graphs, and readings. A sinking feeling began to take root in his chest. The damage was not superficial. The crash, coupled with Nebulae's unique atmospheric conditions, had caused the core to destabilize. If not repaired or replaced, the ship would never fly again. Orion leaned against a console, taking a moment to gather his thoughts. The realization was a heavy burden, one he hadn't expected to face. He pondered on the ancient teachings of the Space Explorers Guild, reciting softly to himself, "In the vastness of the cosmos, an explorer's greatest tool is not his ship, but his spirit. Taking a deep breath, he steeled himself. Challenges were a part of his chosen path, and he was not one to back down. He would find a way to restore the heart of his beloved ship. The celestial nomad would soar again, and he was ready to do whatever it took to ensure that. Orion decided to prioritize re-establishing communication with the broader galaxy. He had seen enough space operas to know that being stranded without communication was a recipe for disaster. The ship's communication array, a delicate structure atop the celestial nomad, was his best chance at reaching out to potential help, or at least informing his home base of his predicament. Maneuvering through the narrow access tunnels of the ship, he reached the manual maintenance hatch. Orion equipped himself with his multi-tool device, protective goggles, and a small portable communicator, a backup in case he managed to get the main comms array operational. As he emerged on the ship's surface, he took a moment to take in the view. The stardust that had settled post-storm gave everything a gleaming sheen. It looked like a sea of twinkling stars had settled on his ship. But this beauty was short-lived when he gazed upon the comms array. It was clear the stardust storm had taken its toll. The array was bent, its sensitive dishes coated in a thick layer of stardust, rendering them virtually ineffective. With care and precision, Orion began his work. The stardust, though mesmerizingly beautiful, was challenging to work with. It clung to every surface, and its granules were fine enough to slip into the smallest of crevices. Clearing the stardust off took considerable time, but it was essential for the array to function correctly. Next was the delicate task of realigning the dishes and ensuring the internal wiring hadn't been shorted during the crash or storm. As he worked, Orion found himself murmuring lines from ancient space shanties, passed down generations, a calming practice for many explorers during tense repairs. Hours seemed to meld into moments, and by the time Orion believed he had done all he could, Neotropolis's two dim suns were cresting the horizon, casting a pale, eerie light across the sands. Returning to the ship's cockpit, he initiated the communication sequence. A tense moment passed, then another. Finally, the screen flickered and showcased the vast communication network of the galaxy. Yet, instead of the clear, crisp signal he hoped for, it was riddled with static. It was a weak connection, but it was something. "Mayday, Mayday," Orion began, his voice echoing through the vast cosmic channels. "This is Dr. Orion Hayes of the Celestial Nomad, broadcasting on all emergency frequencies. I am stranded on an unknown desert planet, coordinates attached, requesting immediate assistance." Silence ensued, with only the soft crackling of the static for company. Orion's message was out there, floating in the vastness of the galaxy. All he could do now was wait and hope that someone, somewhere, was listening. As the static-filled void filled the cockpit, Orion slumped into his pilot seat, the weight of his situation pressing down upon him. The comms system, though functioning at a basic level, was not reliable for a distress beacon to remain consistent. There was a fleeting moment of hope, where a distant voice seemed to chirp through the static, but it was quickly washed away, lost in the vast sea of electronic noise. With the realization that immediate rescue was improbable, a haunting solitude embraced him. The boundless desert outside, the very emblem of his isolation, mirrored the void he felt inside. He pondered over the vast universe, his insignificant place within it, and the immediate vastness that surrounded him on this unknown planet. His thoughts drifted back to the damaged energy core. That was the real crux of his situation. If he could somehow repair or replace the core, he could at least get the Celestial Nomad airborne and navigate to a nearby space route. There, he might have a better chance of being spotted by passing ships. But where would he find such a specific component on a seemingly barren world? His reverie was interrupted by a soft hum emanating from one of the ship's monitors. It was the mineral scanner he had initiated earlier. To his astonishment, there were readings, faint ones, of a mineral composition that resembled the materials of his ship's energy core. Could it be possible? Was there a natural source of this mineral on this very planet? Reinvigorated with purpose, Orion began making preparations. If there were even a slight chance of finding this mineral, he needed to be ready to embark on a rigorous expedition. The challenges ahead were undeniable. The environment was unknown, potentially hostile. The trek would be physically and mentally taxing, and yet, if successful, it might be his ticket off this desolate world. He quickly mapped out a basic plan. First, he'd fortify the ship as best he could against any more potential Stardust storms. Next, he'd gather supplies and chart a course based on the scanner's readings, and after a brief rest, he would venture into the unknown terrains of the planet, fueled by hope, determination, and the spirit of exploration that had driven him since he was a child, looking up at the stars from his home world, dreaming of adventures beyond the horizon.